One thing that was cool that I didn't really know a lot about, and people in my sphere probably will mock me some for not knowing about until a few months ago, was a musical film. Came out 15-ish years ago called Interstella 4-5. Most of you probably already know all about this. It was a sort of concept movie built around Daft Punk's Discovery album, right? I'll give my personal history. So this film I found out about from my daughter, actually. Here's how it all went down. So if you remember the old Adult Swim, when it first started out, right, it was a little bit different than it is now. And one thing they experimented with in the earlier days, when I was still in high school, they did a premiere of Daft Punk's music videos, right? Now, as I remember, it was 3 videos. It might have been 4, but I remember it being 3. And it was those Daft Punk songs, and these videos all seemed to tie together. They had the same characters in them, and it was a band of aliens done in a very 80s anime style, performing the music, right? And then later on in the video, action scenes set to the music. Now, my first thought as a teen, seeing this, was that they had found some old series and cut together some like AMVs, right? That was something I was very familiar with at the time. I wasn't a huge anime fan, but there were some series that I definitely was into. And this being the turn of the century internet, AMVs were all over the place. They're actually one of the ways I found new music to listen to. Place I was as a teen didn't have much in the way of radio, right? We got a country music station from the city that was about an hour away, and occasionally, if the signal was just right, we could get some like college radio, but there wasn't a lot of options, right? And we didn't have cable when we lived there, so like MTV and everything, that wasn't much of an option. The internet was how I found music to listen to when I was that age, and my peers would share music with me. So AMVs were something that I got very familiar with, and I thought this was a similar kind of thing, right? That maybe Daft Punk had licensed some 80s animation and cut together music videos, right? And that was that. I didn't think about it until years later. So fast forward about 15 years after, I haven't thought about that at all. I've got the album in the car, and my oldest daughter, she's 10 at the time, she told me that she's been wanting to get more into like electronic music. I guess she's been hearing more of it from her peers, right? And I said, well, I don't really know much about that genre. I have a few CDs from when I was younger, because I keep almost all of my CDs. I have hundreds of CDs that I will probably never listen to again, just stacked and stacked from since I started getting music. So I pulled out a couple, and the first one was Daft Punk. I threw it in, and all of the kids really got into it. They liked the music a lot, right? Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, they've heard on the radio because of Kanye. So they were familiar with that a little bit, but they liked the whole album, right? Well, she likes going on YouTube looking up music videos. That's one of her pastimes before, whenever she's killing time or studying or whatever. she puts on YouTube and listens to music, right? That's pretty common with kids today. And so she put in Daft Punk. And she comes to me and she says, "Dad, you remember Daft Punk?" And I said, "Yeah, I remember." She said, "There's a movie." And I said, "What do you mean there's a movie?" She told me it's like an hour, and it's the whole album, but there's a storyline with animation. She's also been getting into anime lately. She was watching Sailor Moon and some Cowboy Bebop on Hulu, and that's been getting her more into that, and she's been seeking out some of the stuff from the 80s and 90s that I used to watch when I was a little bit more into that. And she showed me the movie. It was really cool. So I'm genuinely surprised that I was not aware of it earlier, but it's really good. So I researched it a little on what had happened. It was pretty much the opposite of what I thought. They did not find some old anime series that I wasn't familiar with and then cut together some music videos. What they did instead was they approached Toei, which was a animation company in Japan who's responsible for a lot of that 80s aesthetic coming to the US as far as Japanese animation goes. And they said, "Hey, we want to take this album and turn it into a film." They came up with the idea of an alien band, and there's a record producer on Earth, right, who is an alien, and he's responsible for the past few hundred years of all of the big names in music, like Mozart and Jimi Hendrix, everybody. He has been kidnapping aliens, basically like reskinning them as humans and altering their memories, and then reaping the rewards of their musical brilliance, right? And he does this with this alien band. They get kidnapped during a show, turned into a soulless pop band here on Earth, who everyone loves. They're the biggest names in music. But there is a space pilot who has a ship shaped like a giant guitar, and he is their biggest fan, especially the biggest fan of their bassist, Stella. And he goes to Earth to rescue him, crashes his ship. There's a big fight with the record producer. He ends up dying. They end up getting their memories back. Now the Earth knows all about the aliens. The record producer is leading some kind of cult that uses gold records for some sort of machine. And then they make it home safely, and everything is good. It's a really good movie. I mean, the 80s aesthetic with the computer music works really well. The character designs are really good, and even though there's not really any dialogue in the whole thing, the story that it tells visually combined with what's going on in the music just ends up being perfect. So if you haven't seen it, which, like I said, it seems really weird that I never heard about it, so I'm assuming that like I'm the last person in the world to have seen it. But if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. It's called Interstella 5555, also known as Interstella 45. You can find it here on YouTube, or you could just search for a Daft Punk movie. I'm sure it'll pull it up. You'll be able to find it easy. But give it a watch when you have a chance. It's a great album anyway, but the story it tells visually is just it's phenomenal. So that's today's video. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe. Let me know kind of things you want to see on the channel. I know this channel has sort of reformed. Touchbone is mainly me having conversations with you in my car, which seems like most of you don't have a problem with, and I'm totally cool with. I feel very comfortable recording this way because it's very natural for me. It's the way I talk to people when they're actually here with me. So yeah, like I said, join the conversation. Let me know the kind of things you want to see, the kind of things you want me to talk about. I am going to go now. I'm on my way to work, and it is May, but it is also snowing. So get your shit together, Utah. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye.